Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, Dominus the Apostles and Elders, Great Most on the rule well. Shalom to all the brothers doing the work, carrying truth, pushing his word to the four corners. Um, yeah, found this article, and it's interesting because it feels like a follow-up to the social media ban in Australia, which that's something that that's what you call it, the social media ban in Australia for kids. They're saying under 16s or whatever. Enforcing that, people were saying that you would need to have some form of ID, some database with like a form of ID tied to it to really enforce it, and that makes sense because with otherwise how are you gonna prove someone's not over the age of 16? And then if you're not checking, then it basically serves no purpose. It would just be like saying like, oh, click in a box to say I'm over 18. Which is why, as soon as that passed and came through, and I think it's like by next year it's going to be enforced in Australia, people saying, you'll have to use ID. So you have this as long as Moda says Pornhub is pulling out of Florida. So it says what? Starting January 1st, Floridians can no longer legally come to Pornhub. At the dawn, so I think it's if you've got an IP address in, what do you call it? An IP address in Florida, maybe, or whatever. I assume they have region specific or whatever. Or I don't know. It's fuck knows how that'll work actually. Probably IP address out of Florida. It will likely be blocked because it says what at the dawn of the new year, Pornhub will leave Florida thanks to a harsh new age verification law that takes effect on January 1st. The porn giant will no longer do business in the Sunshine State. The law mirrors similar laws passed in other Republican-led states where Pornhub. So can you just okay, okay. Uh, Laws are passed in okay. So users in Florida visiting Pornhub have been treated to a fun pop-up in the recent days. You will lose access to Pornhub in 14 days. Reads the window that dominates the screen on the site when it's accessed from an IP address in Florida. Yeah. Did you know that your government wants you to give your driver's license before you can access Pornhub? And see, to enforce it, that's what has to be done. So that's why it's like with these laws now getting in vogue, and you've obviously got Trump coming in, the Republicans coming in, so then you can have it pushed on a federal level. You can have it pushed harder to where it will then be mandatory for you to kind of access porn sites or anything, even social. I think social media will be the bigger push because that's where, like in the UK especially, they've said like, oh, cyberbullying and all that bullshit, where they'll say if you don't link, your real life identity to what the fuck is it called? Um, if you don't link your real life identity to like your Twitter account or like even Facebook people do it anyway, then you're gonna lose access to those things. And then with those, it's very much looks like it's stirring that kind of pushing forward to where they'll just be like, okay, look, we're gonna have to have the government track it, and then all these websites don't have it access to it because I think they've had the push from before with Facebook selling data to like China and whatnot, where they'll say, oh, it's a what's the word? It's not even health and safety risk, a national security, because that's it's even with the China thing as well. You've had the Huawei phones. It was Huawei 5G that was getting set up, where they were saying the China basically had a back door into like what was being used for UK government because like Huawei works with the CCP, and they essentially have to, if the government tells them, then they're gonna have to what do you call it, comply with handing over any information or whatever. But that's, they'll say, it's safer to have the government have the database, and then you'll have things like national ID and whatnot, which they've been trying to push in the UK, and in the States they've been pushing it through, trying to say with gun control laws. For gun control, they need a federal database for these things to kind of track. But because of how America's set up with all the different states having their own governments, it's not been easy to push through. But this is, it can be something lighter that's just used to and with porn access, it's like no one really wants kids accessing porn, so it's something that'll be easy to get support for. Where it's like, look, it's reasonable to need what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? It'll be easy to need verification or whatnot, evidence that you're over 18 to then access porn sites. And then social media as well, that's another thing, because they've already done studies saying like how social media is destroying the minds of youths. But then the real thing is you then have to have your ID, have all these things tracked to your online identity. So then it's like, if you do, just like in the UK now, people say shit on Facebook, then the cops are barging through the door and arresting them, finding them, throwing them in jail, whatever, because of what you're saying online. And that's really how it proceeds down the line, and then that just leads to famine of the word. That's all that it's really pushing through. But then this one's just interesting because it's in the US, it's in Florida, and then it's specifically because of what the law requiring, what do you call it? Your driver's license, your ID, government ID, to be verified to access it, and that's really what. Or the way to have to enforce it is the same shit. Because then it's like in Australia, it's like how there's not, and the thing is there's like how do how are you gonna prove it otherwise? Even if you send it like a picture of your face or whatever, it's like, it's obviously you're gonna have to use ID to prove, I'm over the age of 16. This one's easier because it's over the age of 18 as well. So what does it say? As crazy as it sounds, it's true. You'll be required to prove you are 18 years or older, such as by uploading your government ID for every adult content website you would like to access. Oh, for each website as well. That's fucking hilarious. And they got the tweet there. What's it say? As it repeatedly promised, the GOP is fighting pornography. In many states, it's winning. In Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas, Montana, North Carolina, Arkansas, Utah, Mississippi, Virginia, and Louisiana, a citizen who wants to access an adult website has to prove they're 18 years old by showing a government ID. So yeah, they've already pushed it through. And that's the thing is like, pornography people will be like, yeah, fuck it. It's you saying you don't want kids to access it. That's perfectly reasonable for the majority of people. But then it's as the scope gets broader, because the next thing is going to be social media, and that's where. And the thing is as well is like, you have social media where like pornography gets posted on like Twitter and Instagram as well, I think. So that stuff, because it's kind of like it bleeds into the next thing. It's dominoes, man. They get one thing, the next thing will come, and then with Trump getting in, they might just make it, look, we'll expand this to a federal level, or just start pushing it out to go after social media. But we'll see as far as that, because we'll say Florida's law is HB3. The law is broad. It requires a website that provides material that is harmful to minors to provide a means of anonymous age verification to its minors. What does it mean to its minors? Well, I don't even know what the fuck that means. What does it mean for material to be harmful to minors? According to the law, any material that the average person applying contemporary community standards would find taken as a whole appeals to prurient interest. That's vague as fuck. There's a lot of wiggle room in that such ill-defined speech laws have been long used in America to suppress speech and attack people who say things people don't like. HB3 also has a provision that's meant to keep minors off of social media websites entirely. It's an overreaching law that's drawn the attention of the ACLU. So yeah, even with keeping them, that's what I was thinking, because I was like, it's like people post explicit material on like Twitter, Instagram, whatever. So then social media can get thrown in there. And that's the thing is if enough states or enough, countries or whatever comply, then they'll just institute it on a whole scale of like, okay, you want to access, so you can go on, like, you might be able to, well, YouTube does it with like YouTube Kids, but then where it's a separate thing, but I don't know. They might just have it as you can go on it and you can see like normal stuff, but then to engage on a certain level where it's explicit, whatever, then you need to throw in your ID or whatever the fuck. And that's possible. That's possible. But then, where's it go? It just expands out. Because like they said, it's wide reaching. It goes into social media, even though it's meant to be for, for porn sites and whatnot. So that's the thing is these these laws is introduced under like, oh, it's meant to be helping out or nicing up, or like, people think, oh, it's good, kids can't have access to XYZ. The thing is anyway is like, regardless of your intentions, it's always going to be possible to access to get around these things, unless you have, even because even in China you have it to where it's like on a countrywide level, you just can't even access certain things. You can't even access Google, you can't access YouTube, you can't actually access a bunch of shit. But then even then, it's like you go to like travel guides, they'll say as long as you got a VPN active before you get into the country and whatnot, then you'll still be able to use all that shit, use all your apps or whatever. So they like, even with that, them saying like, oh, we're doing XYZ, we're making sure that it keeps kids safe. There's still ways to get around it. But then what they what they actually want, which is what the database of all all adults that are accessing these things. You then get to tie, oh, this is that username or email address or whatever. It's tied to this person. This person on this website that's using it with this name, okay, it's tied to, like, they get to put those things together. And then it said for each site you use. So then each individual little account or whatever you do, it's not like a thing you go to your ISP and say, okay, blah, blah, blah. It's, each individual site you're going to have to go and do, deal with that shit. What's it? Ecclesiasticus 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. So yeah, never trust thy enemy, even though it seems like, oh, it's something that's gonna be, for the greater good. What's the reality of it gonna be? The reality is gonna be is gonna be used, pushing towards famine of the word, and then, the defense will be what? Oh, so you want children to access this material? No, of course not. But then, why is it you need the ID? Because that's what the actual goal is. That's what, that's it's being hidden underneath. Isaiah 10:1, it says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and upright grievousness which they have prescribed. Yeah, decreeing unrighteous decrees. And it appears, righteous appears, and so I'm like, oh, it's doing a good, the youth them are gonna stop getting their minds bugged out, seeing all this filth online. But then, there's even with that, there's still gonna be countless ways to get around that shit. And ultimately it's what? That big database of who people are online, which will be utilized, just like in the UK. It's like it's not enforced in the UK, but then it's like when you got your email, or your full name, where you work or where you live on like Twitter, and your Twitter account, or in your fucking what's it called? Twitter's the big one, but then there's the other, Facebook as well. Facebook especially, because Facebook basically exists as, this is your name, your family, your location, everyone, like it's basically just like your whole real life is all connected to what you're doing there, then they'll utilize that anyway to kind of come and be like, oh, you said this online, you made this comment, you're getting grabbed up, all pushing to famine of the word. Verse 2, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So what's it being done for? It's ultimately being done for, to do harm in the end. It's not something, there's no righteous ending Esau's thinking of when he's putting these things together. It's all about, the desires of the elites and what they're trying to enact, which is, control. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.